If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
Blah, 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 blah.
Sending out good vibes.
Blah, blah, blah.
Good vibes.
Blah,
Good vibes.
blah, blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
America. Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. First episode. Is this the first episode? This is the first episode of 2025. First episode of 2025.
Yeah. Well, Malcolm's. I thought Malcolm's was the first, but maybe there was a lot last year. I guess.
I think it came out on the 30th, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, what we ended the year in a bang.
Yeah.
Start the year in a bang with Nilesh Oak. Great chat out of India. The craziest time change. That's the ones that almost exactly 12 hours. It's actually 12 hours from halfway between us.
Right.
He's like 12 and a half hours ahead of me, I think. Which we've done before, but it's always weird because it's the morning for them, straight up. So it was a good chat with Nilesh. It was an interesting one, getting into that Vedic stuff and the Hindu astrology.
And the Indian epics, the ancient epics like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Or I shouldn't say Ata, it's a Mahabharat, I guess.
Mahabharata? What's Mahabharat? Mahabharat?
Yeah, they don't. And I remember Matheson. I was really wondering if he's met Dave Matheson, actually. We didn't have a chance to talk about it, but I mean,
why would he have met Dave Matheson?
Because Dave's talked about the Ramayana quite a bit, right? With Arjuna, or is Arjuna in the
shouldn't it just be Ramayana?
What?
Shouldn't it just be Ramayana?
Yeah. See, you already busted me. Yeah, because Dave was like, he was probably looking at the same quotes that he was talking about the stars, right? And Dave was putting it together in that mythological aspect. He's got a whole book on, probably a whole chapter or half a book on the Indian stuff.
Yeah, that's right. He's got a new book too.
Does he?
Yeah, I forget what it's called. I think he came out with it since he moved to Australia. Now he's got that sugar bomb thing. You must have him on Instagram, don't you? With his little sugar bomb deal. It seems like it's almost like coffee, but a lot of sugary drinks and coffee. I think.
I don't understand what you're saying.
It's like a little shack, like a little trailer sort of thing that you cross between.
Oh, that he makes coffees out of, and
he slings.
He's a
barista.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
If you're a guy, I think it's a baristo. At least it would be in Latin, right? He's a baristo.
Yeah. Wow. Well, good for him. That's awesome.
Yeah,
he seems super happy.
Oh yeah, he looks like he's having a time down in Australia, seeing all these cool things. I mean, I don't think I'd go to Australia. Kind of fucked up, there's between the bugs and the snakes and the communism. Just the bugs, I think, it would be cool to see. Maybe drive across the outback. I think if I was going to go that far, though, I'd rather go to New Zealand. Maybe do both one day when I'm older.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just not really into traveling right now as much. I'm just setting up the studio. You can see behind me, I've almost got it set up. I've got a synchronistic supporter email to read later about it. So
I could go stay with Brian on his farm for a couple weeks.
Yeah, there you go.
Chase the
cows. Friends in Tasmania too, probably. I mean, that's like, yeah.
Yeah, it could be quite an Grimerica world tour.
I just think it would be nice not to have winter for a while.
That would be it. Like do a year where you just go in winter down in the.
Because we're coming up on like 5-6 days at -20, -30, and I've been out doing a little bit, but not really a lot. I've just been
-20.
hibernate. No, that's exactly what I say. -20, but I mean it's a bit windy here too, and just it's not that I just even being in the garage and doing stuff is cold. It's just I'm just waiting for it to warm up a tad.
It's warm here. It's gonna be
Trying
like
to do
+1. It was probably warmed up +1 today.
trying to do more indoor stuff. So we're getting that warm weather tomorrow. I think it seems like it's usually about a half a day or a day behind you if it's coming this way.
Hey man, I'm counting my blessings on winter so far this year. It hasn't really gone below like -23 or something like that. That's a fucking win in my book.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
With like, I would say 7 or 8 weeks to go. You could argue 7. You could even maybe drip that down. Now you got at least 7.
Yeah, you're going
You
to
get done the
like
last
the
week of
beginning of March.
February, beginning of March.
Yeah.
It'll still get cold and it'll snow like a motherfucker, but it ain't gonna be -40, -45 for a week. It's just don't happen like
No,
that.
that's like, when would you say the end of that is? Like mid-February, end of February?
I would say, conservatively, I would say I'm calling February. So
Yeah.
usually we've had one by now.
I know, and January always flies by. I mean, that month just soars. So
That's like 2 weeks right now. The next 2 weeks look all right. They can't really tell the weather here that good, but they do a little bit of a better job in the winter. The next 2 weeks look all right. I'll keep an eye on it, but right now I'm counting my blessings for what has been a fairly mild, but still so far somewhat wet of a winter. So
yeah,
if we could have a nice snowy March, but not cold, where we get a bunch of snow, March, and then head into spring with some rain, and we could get this bitch back on track. I found some good spots. Me and Miles are gonna spend some time this summer, and Jesse digging out some sweet blind spots on the river. And I'm actually gonna bury I was gonna get a job box, but it's kind of expensive. I'm thinking you must be able to just get like some sort of a plastic job box type thing that you'd use for sand or something like that in your driveway. And I'm gonna bury it out there with just a little lid so we can keep a couple, because it's a ways back there. You got to fucking hike in there every time.
and then you're just gonna, and then you assemble the blind there, and
no, well, the blind was basically, it'll be like it'll just be there all the time. That's what we're gonna go, and we're gonna go dig a fucking hole down like 4 feet. So
what are you burying then?
I'm gonna bury a job box to keep some decoys in, so I don't have to carry it
Oh,
back.
the decoys. Oh, it's the decoys.
Yeah, some stash of stuff out there.
Huh.
So that's a summer project. Yeah. Jesse wants to do. I think Jesse's listening now, so shout out to him.
Yeah.
Lord Jesse of the barbecue, Lord of the barbecue. Yeah, I mean, me and him could end up doing some hunting shit yet. We keep talking about it. Miles everyone's kind of excited about the little hunting thing we did last year, and it was semi-successful. So, we're kind of getting into that. We got some great footage last year of all those crazy mega flocks without even really trying. So it's like, if we had some action cams and a camera set up, what could we get away with? Or what kind of footage could we get away with? So
yeah, again, the hard part about all that shit is just the editing, right? It's like you can get all kinds of
the editing.
Somebody's gonna go through it and edit it, but still, I mean,
it's the editing.
This is where an opportunity is in the world, is at video editing. I know it takes a special talent to know what to grab and what not to, but that's a job that I think is going to be in demand for quite a while, even though AI is doing some of it. But
I think my kids also have a natural aptitude for that sort of thing. So they're all getting older too. So,
there you go. That's their chores. Give them the job. Edit this down.
Edit it down.
Keep feeding you.
Because I haven't, batting around. Because I got a great idea for a hunting show that could be like a podcast too. So you don't have to do it all the time. But you do the podcast with the video like this. And then if it's Jesse and Miles, then I would ideally do it not over this. You'd do it with some mics in a room. But the thing would be to tell our stories and do your thing and do your videos of the hunts and do all that. But your sort of mainstay footage that you do, that's hard to do weekly, You can't come out with a video every week or even every month is tough of a hunt. You're talking like, you'd take all your footage over the season and then spend the winter editing it in, and then you have that video content.
And then you would talk about it and share it then. So it would be like you'd be
Dude, I'm
doing a
thinking
podcast.
it's stories.
What?
It's stories. And there's like fucking a couple million hunters out there with probably some epic stories. Everyone seems to like my stories. I always get feedback about how they like the hunting stories. So it'd just be where
But you're gonna have your footage in the background though? Or you're just gonna overlay it with the story?
No, the videos would just be like I don't know. The videos would have to phase in later. You know, that's what I mean. I'd have trouble committing to just a straight video project.
Because I was thinking you could do it where like me and you right now we're talking about your hunting trip and you could share.
That is a good idea.
You could share all the footage and show like this is what we're doing and because you try to visualize it when you're listening to you tell the stories, like the coulees going down on the coulees. It would be cool to see it all, you know.
And it would be cool to hear other people's stories from all over the world.
Yeah.
Their hunting stories. Their Sasquatch hunting stories. They're getting lost. There's probably some doozies. But anyway, can't do that while I have a job. So anyway, grimerica.ca/support.
It sounded like a segue to support.
Yeah, that is a decent segue into the support thing in our drive to retire the crew of Grimerica here this year. Get us out of work, and we need to
exit strategy.
The exit strategy.
I mean, it's even not even that. It's like
a strategy.
Segue strategy.
Segwaystrategies.com. So yeah, we need to double everything. We need to double the books. We need to double the Grimerica. We need to double the Outlaw. The Contact of the Cabins actually seems like it's in cruise control. People should check that out as well. The Azores especially is filling up fast. It looks like it's going to fill up. So if you're thinking about going on that Azores trip, you probably want to get on that. There's still about 15 or 20 spots left for we're up to 10. I think we're up to 10 now for the Bonneville thing, but we're up to like 18, I want to say 17 or 18 for the Azores trip out of 24. So if you think you're coming to the Azores and you haven't told us yet, you probably want to tell us by now, even if you can't, you know the drill, especially if you've been on a couple trips. We're going to work with you. Just let us know if you're one of those people that really wants to go to the Azores, you've been to a couple of other trips and you haven't made a deposit yet, because that is going to sell out, and it's going to sell out, probably by the end of the month, I would say, because the thing is, Randall hasn't even mentioned it yet.
Really?
No, this is just from the mailing list. So this is just strictly so far from everyone that's coming has been on one of our trips so far.
Yeah.
And they picked up from either that Telegram group or from the mailing list. So as soon as Randall mentions it, or starts tweeting about it and starts the Instagram campaign, it's going to be gone. Oof.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're planning on doing more, but it's a crazy world. Better get in there if you're thinking about it. That brings us next thing, America.ca/support, because we need double the supporters for this show. I mean, we're almost at 700 episodes, 12 years. In 4 or 5 months, we'll hit our 12-year anniversary in 4 months. Well over 700 episodes by then. All there, all for free. How many did you listen to? How'd you like them? Did they add any value to your life? Are they adding any value to your life? Head over to grimerica.ca/support today. Sign up for a monthly or make a one-time donation and help us out that way. Send some value back our way. I keep hearing how good the American economy is doing. So
I don't think so. I mean, it's way better than ours, but I think it's further. It's more better than ours than we thought. More better. Yeah.
I think ours is just more worse.
Yeah.
But Trudeau's out, so maybe more better soon.
No, he's not out. He's not out yet. We'll see what happens. We'll talk about that probably this Wednesday on our Outlawed show. But before we leave this, sort of
the dollar shot up like a full cent.
So I got an email. Speaking of supporting this show, I got an email. There's other ways to support too, right? I love this email I got from Mitch at Lost River Timber. because you can send books to us if you want, or with little things inside the pages, or you could email me ideas or guest suggestions or feedback or all kinds of ways. Tell your friends about the show. There's other ways besides monetary. But he says, hello, podcasters. This isn't something I typically do, but here we go. I haven't donated to the show before, but I'd like to contribute in a different way. While I might be short on Canadian currency, I have surplus in wood. I run a woodworking business in Saskatoon, milling local trees into live edge slabs and other materials. I'd love to help with Graham's studio renovation by supplying some wood or crafting some shelves or whatever else might be needed, a new desk possibly. I just listened to the latest show and was fascinated and skeptical about Malcolm and what?
Go with the desk.
No, I've got to lift up. I've got a stand-up desk and everything already. What?
A desk with secret drawers.
Yeah. No, that's too much.
Gold in there.
Yeah. What am I going to put in the secret drawers? Our backup hard drive. I mean, that's
what you're always
the only thing of value I have here is like our backup hard drive.
Well, soon you'll have guns, won't you? Did you get the PAL yet?
No.
If you get the PAL, you might have a brief opportunity to buy handguns again in Canada. I still don't think it's a possibility, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to have the license and be ready to go.
Yeah,
AR's coming back on sale. I'm getting one. I'll be on the waiting list.
Right. Okay, so where was I? I just listened to the latest show and I was fascinated and skeptical about Malcolm Bendel and the thunderstorm generator. He sounds like a complete wackadoodle, but I still love to see that thing work in front of my eyes. My biggest question is how this can function in Canada, especially in freezing temperatures. I even sent inquiry to Malcolm's Thailand manufacturing site. Not sketchy at all, and I'm waiting to hear back. Thanks again for the listen, and let me know if the wood contribution works for you. And you know what? That morning, this is the synchronicity part. I mean, you're not going to believe it. I was about to text you. My office is almost ready. Like, it's not, there's the final touches and stuff, but it's almost ready, to the point where I don't have to use a green screen. I just need a bookshelf. And I was going to ask you, do you got a bookshelf? Or because I've been looking, like Maria's helped me look online. We're looking on Facebook Marketplace and all that. And like a lot of the bookshelves are just kind of gross, right? And I didn't want to spend 200. I also was like, I could have spent $200 on a bookshelf. Like, so I've got a little, like an angular bookshelf that I can use for some books and then some curios and stuff like that. But, and then this email comes through. So I didn't text you about it, but I left the bookshelf for last and I've been trying to figure it out, but something's been stopping me from making a move on it. And he sends me a picture of these two shelves. Like they're I'll show you them right now. They're gorgeous. Look at these. Look at these. Like, so it's that living edge, like bookshelf, right? So I'm going to
how's it attached? It just comes with a bracket or something attached to the wall.
You can make them look floating. Like the back of my wall is still open. The back of into the next room, right? I haven't drywalled the other side yet. So I can just go right into the framing. Easy.
Yeah.
And I'll have like two nice shelves underneath that Grimerica poster there. And then I'll have my other shelf there and pretty much be ready to go. So I'm going to go meet with them this week. And
I'm a rambling Graham with synchronicities all over the web. And Aaron is skeptical about everyone and don't believe it yet.
That's my favorite part of that. It's been so long since I've heard that, is that the end where he goes, "Don't believe it yet."
Are you going to put them behind you then?
Yeah, they're going to go right under this shoulder, underneath that Aztec kind of thing there, right? Sort of like on that side, and then I'll have the other thing on the other side, and then I'm almost, I'm almost done.
Excellent.
Got some other funky things. I want to do my axe. I want to do my axe staff up a little bit, to decorate that up a little bit, put it on the wall somewhere.
We should also give a shout out to Dan Friday who sent us the stuff. I don't think we put that on the show yet, but
no, we didn't.
Some PNW wild caught coho salmon.
Nice.
Sustainably harvested by indigenous peoples of the Salish Sea.
Salish.
Salish? Why Salish? Oh, Salish. I mean, I would accept it for most other people. I have trouble. I just have trouble from our past experience of accepting pronunciation for me.
Yeah. Well, I've known quite a few. That's a nice poster. Is that a poster or what is that? Flag?
It's a flag. It's a flag. Yeah, it's a
Nice.
Friday glass.
Oh,
Quill PW and Dan Friday. FridayGlass.com. And then of course you sent us each this little cool glass little thing that this one's like purple and orange.
I love it. See, that'll be in my background. I'll hang that up.
The cool thing is he's wearing the same one in the Netflix show. If you go and watch the Netflix show, you'll see it's the one he's wearing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh. Pretty cool. Surreal almost. So thanks, Dan, for that. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing. I got to give a shout out to Cody. So we do have a new P.O. box, which we haven't got nothing at it yet. I checked it today. I had to check like 6 boxes because I couldn't remember the number and I didn't have my phone.
Well, somebody's got sent back. Did you get that note I sent you? But somebody's got shipped back. Is that because the postal got people on strike?
P.O. box? Is that the new P.O. box? 2083 or whatever it is?
Well, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it's on the website.
2083, isn't it? Is it 2083 on the website?
I'll check right now.
All right, I'll read this letter.
Okay.
So this was sent during the strike and they just held it, but it wasn't sent to the P.O. box. It was sent to my house.
2083, Strathmore Station, Maine, Alberta, Canada, T1P1K1. Cool postal code.
Someone send us something so we can be sure. But the lady's a real sweetheart. This old lady that's there, like there was some mail today that she just called me because she's like, hey, this thing's here and it doesn't have your full address.
Oh my God, that's awesome. See, that's what we need, That's what we need.
Yeah, so I went there and it was Lola was hoping it was her thing, but it ended up being Madison's thing. So because the postal strike like fucked up Christmas a little bit, A
little personalization, right? I mean, all we do is talk to AI responses now. To hear from a human and get an actual call is amazing. Good job.
All right, we got a letter here from Cody. Lord Cody, isn't it? Is it Lord? Lord, right? Lord Cody.
Yeah, I think so.
Lord Cody of the Coot Nannies. Darren, thank you so much for letting me be a part of this amazing crew. I've learned so much in the last 5 years through Graham and yourself, Randall, the Bros, Matheson, and many more. I wish I had more to give back to this value for value system because I'm ripping y'all off. Someday, hopefully I can. Until then, I will secure the area if needed. He's our security guy for our trips. And get you deals on all your Vortex glass. So he did get me he gave me a amazing pair of binoculars from Vortex. And this stuff all came in the package that I ordered because he got Miles like half off on a sweet Vortex spotting scope he wanted. And Miles we had to wait forever because it got caught in the thing. Because poor Miles had to wait forever because I was going to go down and grab it. And then I never ended up going down to the States. And then the postal strike. Well, anyway, he got the scope and he's happy. Miles is pretty easy to please. Love you, motherfuckers. Give Shauna a big hug for me. You are a lucky man to have such a wonderful lady by your side. I'd love to meet the whole family someday until we meet again. Cody Edwards, Lord of Lunacy. And I have this one here, addressed to Graham, which I have not opened yet.
All right.
So I'll open it now.
Oh.
Better not be money in yours.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. You put a lot of effort into it. It's worth keeping the letter. Or maybe I'll just cut out where my name is, Darren. See, it says it's all fancy, says Graham.
Yeah.
If you'd like it, it's all dungeony. Graham, I want to extend my gratitude to you for the inspiration to clean my shit up. Your stories of what you used to be compared to now has lit a fire under my ass to be a better person. I'm not going religious on you, though. Not yet, anyway. I enjoy the myths too much to find Jesus right now. That said, though, I need to find myself, and if it happens to be Christ, I will embrace. What if it turns out to be a fallen angel? I don't know where the path leads, but I'm on it for the long haul. Love you. Thank you for everything. And I'm looking forward to our next meetup. Cody.
Cool. Thanks, Cody.
Yeah, so that's from the mailbox. It's been a while since we got some mail, so that's good. So check that out. It's on the contact page. If people want to mail us stuff. And also, please support the show. Oh, I just noticed Kevin Alster tried calling me today.
Oh, I want to read another email while we're doing it. While we're still in the thing. This is from Istvan. I think he's in the chats too. He's a great great supporter of the show. After the Bendall episode, I've made a decision to renew my monthly subscription at Grimerica. I have so much going on in my mind after listening to Bendall. He says what every person with 2 brain cells thinks about the state of our reality. Plus, he seems to be a genius. Once Randall said that the book is now open. He refused to explain, but I think now we can all see what he meant. Thanks for all the hard work you guys put into the pods. How interesting that you turned your deadly addiction into a book reading addiction. The listeners are lucky too. I wish you both an amazing 2025 and a lot of support from your listeners. Keep up the good fight. Best, Istvan.
Well, I did send out a newsletter the other day encouraging people to join the chats and to and encouraging them to push to be the best selves in 2025.
Yeah, we don't really push the chats a lot, but it's pretty cool in there. I love it, actually. And it's the Telegram version. It's a Telegram version where everybody can interact. It's not like you go in there and it's only us posting stuff and nobody can say stuff or people can only comment. It's like a real chat.
Yeah, there's a Telegram and a chat.
Oh, is that the one still going?
It's still going. Yeah, you should stop it once. Come on and say hi.
Sorry.
We miss you.
I thought we bailed on that one.
We didn't bail on it, just you, buddy. Kansas is in there.
I think I had to get a Roblox. I think I have to get a Roblox account to keep it going.
Kansas and his dog are sitting there waiting for Ground to come, just make an appearance, come over the hill. But every day they just go home sad. I pop in. I try to pop in every day at least. The Telegram is easier because I use it for more business.
Yeah, that's.
I've got to check Telegram as a rule. So anyway, there's those things to join. But I mean, here's the thing: we got some new governments which may or may not pan out. But the real problem right now is that everything sucks because everybody sucks. So I mean, we got to be not you guys listening. You guys don't, but everybody out there listening knows what I'm talking about. I mean, I don't know. I've talked about the competency crisis. I mean, Will Stickle just came out with a new book, The Competency Crisis.
Did he?
Yeah.
You mean a new Substack post or a new book?
A new book.
Oh wow.
The Competency.
The second one?
Will Stickle pumping them out.
The second one on the crisis?
The first one. No, the first one. The other one was Will Stickle's other book was the Trudeau one.
Right. Good. Did Will have any predictions in there about what would happen on January 6, 2025, the day we are recording this introduction and releasing this podcast?
Which is the Trudeau quit day. He didn't really quit, but he
didn't really quit. He said I'm going to resign after you guys decide on a new leader.
He's going to replace me. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no parliament for a couple months, so that can't be bad news. They can't do anything.
Well, apparently they can. We'll talk about it on Wednesday.
We'll find out. Anyway, support the show, please. Grimerica.ca/support. We need, like I said, we're trying to double it up. I might as well say you can also check out GrimericaOutlawed.ca and sign up over there. That counts. And head over to adultbrain.ca too if you like audiobooks, because we got all these audiobooks you can get everywhere. We are trying to maybe do some moving and shaking with those audiobooks in the background, but for now, you can definitely get them everywhere. Spotify, Audible, podcast form, YouTube form. It's all there at adultbrain.ca. I think that's about all I got.
No, it's not all. It's not all. No, we got
TBD?
Yeah, I got a thing here to read. So, we mentioned it on the end, I think on the outro of another show or whatever, but I remembered back to when we started the show, it was like 2014, probably 2015, when I was looking for CBD for Maria, right? Because like she's got the chronic issues and we're trying all kinds of different things. And we had to order it from Europe. This is way back. Like it's only like 7-8 years ago or whatever. I had to go to Europe. I mean, and that way, for some reason, we were allowed to get it into Canada back then. But anyway, so we started up our own brand of CBD down in the States, though. So this is only for American listeners for now. So I thought I'd read some from my little cheat sheet here on the benefits of CBD, right? Because we didn't really get into this part of it. We talked about all our products last time. We have tinctures and gummies and stuff like that. And you were more focused on, the effect it's going to have. But there's also, a mood altering compound, but it's not psychoactive for some of this stuff too. So many people are seeking alternatives to pharmaceuticals with harsh side effects. CBD can provide relief for chronic pain, inflammation, anxiety, depression, and sleep challenges. It's a powerful mood-altering compound. Extensive research highlights CBD's potential as a treatment for a wide range of maladies, including but not limited to autoimmune diseases, inflammation, arthritis, neurological conditions, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, MS, epilepsy, stroke, brain injury, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, obesity, neuropsychiatric illness, autism, ADHD, PTSD, alcoholism, gut disorders, colitis, Crohn's, cardiovascular, atherosclerosis and arrhythmia, and skin diseases, acne, dermatitis, psoriasis. It has proven neuroprotective effects and anti-cancer properties. It makes THC even more potent as an anti-cancer substance, stimulates neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells in adult mammals. We specialize in raw cannabinoids, never synthetic, and our CBD contains no solvents or preservatives. A nice side effect of this, unlike THC, is that it cuts cortisol levels very quickly. That's the stress hormone emitted by the adrenal glands. And with modern living, it often looks like we become habituated to being in fight or flight mode. So there you have it. Just thought I'd read some of the benefits. Of course, there's a bunch of different types. You can find them on GrimericaCBD.com. There's the Stone Spirit gummies, the Dream Bean gummies. Illumin is the one of the tinctures. Solaris, Calme for calming.
There you have it. Thanks for reminding me with that. I mean, I can't believe I forgot about that one. But yeah, Grimerica CBD, we have added to a roster of things that you could tell your friends about that one. That's easy to do. They don't have to listen to the show. They just have to use this. I mean, if we can get a few hundred people, using this site regularly, that would really make a huge difference. So,
that'd make a huge difference. Yeah, that would be like your exit strategy. Your what did you call it again? It was
segue strategy.
Segue strategy.
Okay,
segue strategy works.
Huge thanks. We had a huge help. We have huge help for huge thanks to Ray Howard, who sent us $40. Thank you, Ray. A noble of the Grimerica Round Table. No, maybe not the Round Table. You just like play in the yard. You get in the castle when the people attack. $10. We got $10 coming in from Branislav Oklajek.
Maybe the keep. They could be in the keep.
Yeah, the keep. That's what I meant. They can come into the keep when the shit goes down. So yeah, thank you, Branislav. And then we got another 1080 from our buddy Jim Davis down in
Nice. Jim Davis comes through again. Thanks, Jim. And everybody else.
Jim Davis, fat guy from Missouri, sending me pics of his grandson playing in the snow. It's like, yeah, the snow's we're way past novelty mode. Snow up here.
We're in hibernate mode.
We were out.
Walk the garbage pail all the way around the back alley and all the way around the front because it's so deep.
I was dragging the kids in the sleigh on the quad Saturday. No, it was Sunday. Now there's a cool trail all the way through the woods, kind of. So there's like a proper loop we can do. So,
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a good time. They have a good time. They kind of get banged up a little. We could use, you know what they need is a tube. With a tube, you can kind of bounce around a little more without it like slamming into those sleighs. Have the hard sides on them that come up.
Yeah.
I mean, you know those sleighs well.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what are you doing next weekend? I might actually. I'm supposed to email the. I'm emailing the hunting guys to see if there's any availability this weekend for the elk hunt.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Last minute.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a hunt Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday, Sunday.
Right. Yeah, let me know.
Then what's that? That's got to be like halfway to your place? Nah. It's in the wrong direction.
No,
Does it take something?
No, it's south. It's just south. It's south. It's probably 4 or 5 hours for me to drive there. Right?
Anyway, if we do it, we're going to get a hotel the Saturday night.
Okay.
We only do the weekend, so.
Darren's talking about there's a hunt on a base, on a military base. Longtime listeners would have heard our stories from the last time we went, which was during COVID. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. They have everybody come in on the base because there's so many elk that they have this huge hunt. Like all the hunters start at once. It's almost like they should almost turn it into a reality show or something, eh? They can have like camera crews with all the guys and all the different groups of guys going around. I mean, they have everybody right there, right?
I don't think it could be like a whole. I don't think it could be a whole like show, but maybe it could be like a little special, like a little
documentary, little mini documentary or something.
But you would see how retarded. I mean, the Russians would be coming back.
They
wouldn't take long. Wouldn't take long. Do you have a bio for Nilesh? Anyway, become a lord, a Grand American. You don't just get in the keep. You get in the thing, and that's only $1,000. So that's like 600 American now. Now probably more like 8, might be 7. Actually, know what it is? It's 700. It just went up from 690 to 700.
Yeah,
because it would be the equivalent of the cent to the dollar. The other thing is, if you give us 10 grand, we got so
a deity of your choice. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, Nilesh would probably choose like Krishna or something, maybe. Or
which one would you choose? Which god would you choose?
I'd make one up, dude. I'd make one up.
Would you? What would your superpowers be? I was talking to the listeners, but I don't think you're shelling out 10 grand anytime soon.
So speaking of shout outs, Chris Knowles, not the Chris Knowles that we had on the show, but one of our listeners, Chris Knowles, suggested Nilesh. So big shout out to him. Thanks for suggesting him. I mean, honestly, when somebody takes the trouble to suggest a guest to me, I usually look into it because most of the time it works out really good. So Nilesh Oak, author, original researcher, TEDx speaker, UAAICT distinguished alumnus, and sought-after keynote speaker. He holds BS and MS in chemical engineering and an executive MBA. Published 3 revolutionary books. When Did the Mahabharat War Happen? The Historic Rama, and Bhishma Nirvana. His books have been and are being translated into various other languages. He travels extensively around the world, speaking to university and college students and to mainstream audiences. His work has inspired novels, novelettes, documentaries, and movies. Nilesh helps individuals become aware of the deep wisdom and antiquity of Indian civilization so that they truly comprehend, present, or defend the grand narrative of this civilization, unlike most other Indic researchers, because he builds it through scientific acumen and logical reasoning. He's a researcher and adjunct faculty at Institute of Advanced Sciences, Dartmouth, Massachusetts, USA. I think he lives in the States. He's also got his Canadian citizenship. And his website is Nilesh Oak, NILESHOAK.com. There you go.
There you have it, guys. Support the show, and most of all, enjoy the chat. Nilesh Oak.
Nilesh Oak, welcome to Grimerica. Thank you for joining us. How are you tonight or this morning?
Good evening, Graham. Good evening, Darren. Nilesh Oak. My namaskar to everyone from India. I am in a place named as Nashik. Literally means really something related to the nose. Okay, and that's how the word is closed, by the way. Nasika in Sanskrit. And this is where one of the key event of Ramayana happened. In fact, Ram and Sita, his wife, and his younger brother stayed here for 2 years.
Wow. Well, I mean, this is going to be a fascinating chat because we talk quite a bit. Like we've had Randall on a bunch of times, Randall Carlson. I know you know of his work, and Graham Hancock as well. And we do trips with Randall, looking at the evidence from the younger Dryas. We host trips with him. We're going to be going to the Azores, and I feel like you're really in the same vein, but from the Indian historical aspect. So. We're really looking forward to chatting it to try and get a different perspective on this whole thing and see where there's some corroboration. So, I mean, maybe it's worth just mentioning a little bit about yourself, like a couple minutes on how you became interested to go down this non-academic route of writing about ancient Indian history.
Okay. Well, my background is very much non-history related background, chemical engineer. Did my bachelor's in India, master's in Canada, and then worked in corporate world for 25, 30 years. So this was very much my personal hobby, a passion, if you want to call it. Yep. It started very early. I'll give you an Indian context to this. What happens is India has a huge library of ancient literature, huge. I mean, there are many texts which have not even been read in modern times in the last 500 years. They are just collecting dust in some of the libraries. So there is no dearth of it. But what happens is there are these claims that I used to hear growing up. Like anytime we find something in modern science, modern technology, and say cell phone, aeroplane, which some of these things, I mean, most of these things are in last 150 years. Okay. And immediately somebody, when I was growing up here, will say, oh, that's there in one of our texts, XYZ, And I said, well, then how come we don't have our own cell phones, going back to 20 years, 30 years, and aeroplanes and whatnot. So it was from that skeptical point of view. That's when my research began. So I wanted to know for myself, whatever they are claiming, is it there in the text that they are referring to? And that's where my journey began. Fast forward to say 1994, I was always reading stuff for my own personal consumption. But when I was just finishing my master's at University of Alberta, Edmonton, and I had like about 15 days or so, and I said, well, what do? I have nothing to do. So I went to the library, the Rutherford Library, like the humanities library. And, all the by American, I mean Canadian and American United States libraries, all decent universities will have this whole collection of Indian epics, Ramayana, but also the Mahabharat. So there is this whole 19-volume big collection of Mahabharat. Just out of curiosity, I pulled one volume related to the war itself.
Yeah.
And guess what? I did not reach where I wanted to actually search. But just before that, I ran into an amazing array of astronomy descriptions. And the author of the book, and a contemporary to the Mahabharat times, he's telling the blind king, please try to stop the war if you can. And in that context, just like we will give all kinds of rationale why we should not go to war in Iraq or wherever, he's just making a laundry list of things. And in the consistent with that tradition, I suppose, and we'll talk about the purpose of this, he refers to, right in those 2 or 3 chapters, close to 30 to 40 different astronomy observations, astronomy, configurations, combinations. And this is of that time. He's saying, this is what I see in the sky right now. And then don't go for a war. And so that intrigued me. And specifically one observation that we will discuss if we have a time, but that is something I would consider a crucial evidence, a decisive evidence. And, in my naivety, Graham, I should say, I thought I'm going to figure this out in a couple of weeks that I had.
Yeah.
In reality, it took me 15 years, say from
Right.
1994 to 2009. But when I finally did decipher that astronomy configuration, what is happening is a history, another history in history making. And that's why we are talking today.
Wow. Okay. So a lot of it is centered around the Ramayana. I'm so used to pronouncing it with the A at the end, it's hard to stop that. And the Mahabharat. So
Yeah.
what's the main difference that you've learned about those two epics compared to what the mainstream, like what we've all sort of learned from school?
Okay, what we will learn in the school,
I think you're muted,
yeah.
or my can you hear
He's
me?
good.
I'm fine. Darren, you can hear me?
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so can you hear me now, Graham?
You can go ahead.
Okay, I can go ahead. Okay. So what I would love to know, Graham, you or Darren, what you think. But my point is, I know that most of the world, at least outside India, believes that these are just epics, as in like a poetry, as in like stories, a collection of stories, more like a novel. And they don't think it has any historical basis. Or if somebody thinks it has a historical basis, they think it's only coincidental, which is like we might call a historical fiction, meaning there might be a kernel of truth to it. And then the things are built based on whatever the original foundation was. But there was a lot of embellishments and all kinds of stories were built. This is what is a mainstream view. And the reason, Darren or Graham, the reason for this view is basically, it's not a very old view. It's actually a very recent view. When I say recent, I mean less than 300 years. And the story goes with Sir William Jones, who was sent by East India Company in 1765 to Kolkata, the eastern part of India. That's where the East India Company had their capital, you can say. And he was sent there as a judge to deliver the justice. Now, because he has to deliver a justice to the local Indians, he started studying the Hindu text related to the judicial system. And that's how he got introduced to Sanskrit. And so after him, he was extremely fascinated. But then when the colonial interest took over, especially 1857 and afterwards, then the Aryan invasion theory came into the picture, and so there it just, the whole attempt by all the Indologists in the UK, in America later on, also in other parts of Western Europe. Initially, there is a romantic period where, the Mother India and Voltaire saying everything came from the bank of Ganga, Ganges, and so on. But that changed with the colonial interest. And so then for the last 1857, so what is that? Close to 200 years or something like that, what the world is bombarded with, but also the Indians here. So Indians have internalized it more than the rest of the world, that this is nothing but a fiction, at best a historical fiction. So that's the contemporary view.
And there seems to be a really big push or a change in the narrative in ancient mysteries and the evidence of an advanced civilization going way back. And it seems like you've sort of found the same evidence from your research that would match sort of that, that people going around looking at all these ancient sites, the megaliths and the Cyclopean architecture, and saying that like this stuff seems to be before the younger Dryas, let's say. So would you, because it seems like you've kind of, I missed some of what your answer was because my mixer crashed and I had to reboot it. But it seems like what you've done is sort of redate those two epics.
Yes. So let's go back to the story that I started at University of Alberta. So that particular reference that everyone, our listeners, can relate to. This is the panhandle in the sky, the Ursa Major. Okay, the 7 stars of the panhandle. So there are 4 stars that create the pan, and then there are 3 stars into the handle. The middle star is in the Indian astronomy called Vasishta or Sage Vasishta. In modern astronomy, it is Mizar, star Mizar.
Is
And
that
next
the
to
Big
that,
Dipper?
there is, the Big Dipper.
Yeah.
Big Dipper, yeah. And next to that middle star in the handle, there is a small star. It's modern astronomy, we call it Alcor. In Indian astronomy, it's the Lady Arundhati, the wife of the sage Vasishta. That's why they are like imagined to be close to each other. Now, the big deal about this is the author of Mahabharat is telling the king, because remember, author is a contemporary. It's one of the character in the whole historical event of Mahabharat. The king, the blind king to whom he is telling the story, telling these all signs, is actually his father. Okay, it's like it's an adopted father, meaning he provided the semen, for this guy to be born. And so back to this Big Dipper, the 7 stars. Right now, if you look at night, what you will see is looking at the North Pole star. They are going to come. This Big Dipper will come in the northeast, depending on where you are. Latitude, and it's going to go anti-clockwise around the pole star. You will see the Mizar, the Vasishta, walking ahead of Alcor, Arundhati. Now, what the author of Mahabharat, his name is Vyasa. Vyasa means the one who expanded. Vyasa is saying that at the time of the Mahabharat war or Mahabharat event, the younger star, the smaller star, Arundhati, Alcor, is walking ahead of Vasishta, and that's the mystery. That was the mystery in our times. Just to give you a background, like there are some great astronomers that India saw in the last 150 years, for example, and they had literally tried their best to make sense of this. And some of them, I mean, archaeoastronomy as a discipline, not many people would know, began in India. This was S.B. Dikshit. We are going back to 1860s and 1870s, and then Lokmanya Tilak in 1890s, and so on. So they thought this is impossible in the very order of nature, astronomy speak. The same thing people are saying in 1960s, so 100 years after. And the same thing people were saying in 2009, when I finally figured this out. So I'll jump to the conclusion to keep it away the technicalities of astronomy. Finally, when I figured this out, this is what the conclusion is. That there was actually a historical time, astronomy speak, that can be verified by anyone with the basics of astronomy. Say sometime from 10,000 BC to 5,000 BC. From 10,000 BC to 5,000 BC, about 5,000 year time period, when anyone in the northern hemisphere or anyone who could see the Big Dipper, if they would have seen these 2 stars during that time, they would have seen the Alcor would walk ahead of Mizar, the Arundhati walk ahead of Vasishta, unlike it is today. And this is the only time period, if you go back in history, when this configuration is true. So if you have to draw the inference, so this is my evidence. I objectively tested it. The inference I'm going to draw based on modern astronomy and Indian astronomy is, if this statement of the Mahabharata is true, then the Mahabharat event happened sometime between 10,000 and 5,000 BC.
Okay.
So would that be for a full? Would that when you talk about it,
procession?
Yeah, so it would get back to the same spot a full procession later, where the stars would be all in the same spot again.
Okay, now that's a great question.
Cyclical?
Yeah, that's a great point, Darren. So 2 points to that. First thing, the very reason this combination change into that configuration between 10,000 to 5,000 BC is because of precession, because of the precession of the Earth's axis. However, there is a very interesting thing about it. There is something else known as a proper motions of the stars, which is to say, against the fabric of the sky, they have their own relative motion with respect to each other, but also say against the Earth's axis, where it's pointing to. So it's a proper motion, that's how they would move. And if we do it another episode sometime, I'll take you through another star. Actually, the Indians are observing that star for 60,000 years, but let's not digress to that. That's the proper motion, what I mean. Like there is another star that came from all the way from the North Pole, all the way to the ecliptic, where the sun's path is. But back to this, Darren, to your question. Because of precession, yes, the Alcor was walking ahead of Vasishtha or the Mizar during 10,000 and 5,000 BC. But interestingly, if you go through that cycle of the precession, like the approximately 26,000 year cycle, if you, let's say, go back, like say 10,000 BC plus 26,000 years in the past, you will not see Alcor walk ahead of Mizar because of these proper motions. So what I'm saying is, as far as the past is concerned, say last 1 million years, and that would be sufficient for our discussion, it is only this one small interval of 5,000 years, from 10,000 to 5,000 BC, when Arundhati could be seen walking ahead of Vasishtha. Now, to your point, if you go, say, 12,000 years from today in future, yes, you will see Arundhati walk ahead of Vasishtha again.
Wow.
But not in the past.
Wow. So how did you come to the dating, the actual dating of the Mahabharat, and how different is that from what they tell us in school?
Good. So okay. So this one is one. So now, Graham, somebody would think, and I actually thought it like this. This is fascinating, but could this be just a coincidence? Okay, and that's always a chance.
Yeah.
So I said, what else? And of course, the Mahabharat text related to the war, which lasted only for 18 days. And then there are some events which went after for a year and a half, and some events before a year. So let's say still a time of maybe not more than 2 years. And related to this 2-year time period, there are close to 300 astronomy observations like this. Okay, some of them not as fascinating as this. And so now imagine solving a jigsaw puzzle or solving like a crossword puzzle. So I took another set of observations. In fact, I wrote a book on this, just on this another set called Bhishma Nirvana. Okay, I'll not go into the details on this. We have to. But the point is, I was trying to answer myself that this Arundhati Vasishtha, it's called now AV observation. Is that just a coincidence? So I said, is there another set of observations that I can objectively test using modern astronomy? And that Bhishma Nirvana, that event has close to 100 observations. And they also decisively say something very similar, but even more impressive. Do you know what's the conclusion of that is? They basically, the Bhishma Nirvana evidence, close to 100 astronomy observations brought together, astronomy and chronology. They say that this Mahabharat war can only happen between 5,000 BC and 7,000 BC.
Okay.
So with AV, I started 10 to 5,000. Now Bhishma is bringing me 5 to 7,000. And to answer your question, so now finally, how do I get to a specific year? And out of these 300 that I mentioned, there are about 50 descriptions. Those are specific to the planets. For example, specific to the sun, the moon, the eclipses, their specific positions with respect to the zodiac. Then think of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, their conjunctions, their retrograde motion, their crossing the path of the sun in an oblique fashion. So those are like 50 descriptions. And frankly, as a scientific way, we have to test all 50. But in reality, I don't have to test all 50 to get to the year of the Mahabharat war, like 5561 BCE. Just for example, if I take only 8 observations of planet Mars, there are only 8 observations for Mars. And if I take only those, and if I test using modern astronomy, it will take me to 5561 BCE. And it doesn't matter whether I search only within 5000 and 10,000 BC, or I start searching for them right from today, 2024,
it still
going
takes
back.
you to that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So, and what's the mainstream? What do we learn in school? Or when that date is?
Okay, so the mainstream, well, school, first thing, as I said, the school teaches us that this is not even a history.
Right.
So that's number one,
Yeah.
right? So for example, like think of Professor Hopkins from Harvard University, okay, in the last 100 years. So he's not thinking of as a history, but he's like thinking more as to when they might have been composed.
Yes,
like
right.
written.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the timing he puts for it, and there's no one timing. He places the timing which is the most recent. He places them around 400 CE. So it's like a 1600 years ago.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the mainstream, I would say they will go maybe 500 years before him. They
Okay.
might say, okay, 200 BC, maybe 500 BC, maybe 1000 BC, but nothing before that, not more than 3000 years from today, as opposed to 7500 years ago when actually it happened.
Yeah. So is there any evidence of a cataclysm at that time? Like, this is a really stupid question, but I just kept thinking, like, these epics, was it a real, is there any chance that it was about a cataclysm and the death and destruction of so many men during a cataclysm and not a war? Like, was it an allegory for a huge event?
Yeah. No, it's very interesting you asked that, and I'm glad you asked that question. There is a cataclysm at multiple levels here. In fact, 2 levels at least. One is a physical level,
Yeah.
okay, the geography, geology, oceanography. There is another level that it is happening at the rivers of India, but I will combine this with, say, geography. It's not different. Then it was a cataclysmic event for humanity from a genetics perspective. So let me walk you through, and you can stop me and interrupt me, but let me walk you through the geographical event, like, that goes back to my friend in Atlanta that you referred to. We both are from Atlanta, by the way. I mean, I lived in Atlanta for 20 years, and Randall Carlson also is in Atlanta.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So Randall and I thought of doing a few podcasts. It's just that he travels so much and I travel so much that we haven't found that magical moment yet, but
Okay.
we'll
Okay. Yeah, that'll be good. I'm looking forward to when you guys can get together.
Yeah. So geological event is this, not the comet that Randall and Graham Hancock refer to. What other thing they refer to, and not so much related to, well, it is related, not so much directly related to melting of glaciers in North America. Actually, this is a melting of glaciers in Antarctica. This is a 7,500-year-old event. For example, when I was doing my master's at Alberta, there was another student. He's now professor in Mexico. You may consider having him sometime just for that aspect. Dr. Professor Paul Blanchon, Paulblanchon, Blanchon. And he was doing his PhD in geology right at same university. We just did not know each other. We both graduated 1994-95. He with his PhD in geology, me in chemical engineering. And I discovered him about 20 years after. Okay. So that research is relevant, but you can find the evidence around the world. So let me get back to that event. What Mahabharat says is, so Mahabharat year is 5561 BCE. So it's like, you want to know how long ago? 5561 plus 2024, that's like 7,585 years ago. What Mahabharat says is that one of the character in Mahabharat, Krishna, and I think everyone knows Krishna, if not exactly in the same way he needs to be understood as a historical person. But, with the Hare Ramas and Hare Krishnas, everyone knows the word Krishna, of course, So Krishna is one of the very key personality, the key personality you can say as a part of Mahabharata. And Mahabharata tells us that he had a big prosperous city on the west coast of India, in the modern state of Gujarat, the place called Dwarka. Okay, and Graham Hancock has talked a lot about it. When I met Randall in Boulder this past summer, actually we had a long chat on this too, by the way. So this what was a wonderful, prosperous Swiss city, Dwarka or Dwaravati. And Mahabharata tells us that it was destroyed by rising sea waters 36 years after the Mahabharata war. So 5561 BC plus 36 gives you 5525 BCE. And now I was asking, all right, so the Arundhati Vasishta gave me 5561 BC, not just Arundhati, the Bhishma Nirvana, the planetary evidence. Now that number plus 36 gives me the predicted year for the destruction of Krishna's Dwarka by rising sea waters. Now, do I find the evidence for it around the world, or at least on the West Coast? And there is such a tremendous evidence. It's unbelievable. That's the only word.
Wow.
Unbelievable. For example, Graham Hancock and Glenn Milne, who is based out of Toronto, by the way. He's a bathymetric geologist based out of Toronto. They also showed the bathymetric sea level rising, the bathymetric studies on the west coast of India. And, they actually show one island just outside the ocean front of state of Gujarat on the west coast of India. And that island disappears. If you have seen their videos and simulations, that island disappears right. Yeah. So if you can pull this down a bit. No, sorry. Forgive me. Go up.
I'm just showing
further. Yeah. So now you see that. The left side. Yeah, there. Where your cursor is, that's there exactly. You are right. So that's the area of a Dwarka.
Okay.
And you see that under the ground, like you see, just keep on moving your cursor slowly to the left, left.
Yeah.
Keep on going down, and come down slowly. Yeah. Stop. Yeah. There. That area is that island. Now, of course, it's the ocean.
Yeah.
And if you see the simulation done by Graham Hancock and Glenn Milne, that island was still there because as the water kept on going up, it became an island, you can say. But eventually it disappeared right at the time that I am saying, 5525 BCE.
Wow.
So that's a data point from Graham Hancock. But let me give you something phenomenal. This is a papers by Zarins about 25 years ago. And he was studying the entire Arabian Sea. And what he shows for the Arabian Sea is that right in the middle of 6th millennium, which is again 5525 BCE, there was a sudden sea level rise. This is the average sea level rise in the Arabian Sea of 15 meters, 15 meters, right in the middle of 6th millennium BC. And then there was another 8 meters in the next 400, 500 years. So yes. And now, was this a local event?
Is that when Doggerland submerged too?
Absolutely. If you look at the Dogger Bank between Scotland and Norway, absolutely. But let me, since you said that, let me give you a few data points. Okay, actually, I have 30, but I'll not bore you with all 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The Dogger Bank that got flooded. But let me give you the big one. So the one on the west coast, because that's where Dwarka is. So we need to definitely talk. So that's like a sudden 15-meter rise. Not only that, but something more fascinating. There was an additional 8 meters rise in the next 400, 500 years. And when that happened, something fascinating, the mean sea level on the west coast of India was actually 3 meters higher than what it is today.
Wow. Interesting.
And it stayed that way from say 5000 BC all the way to 2000 BC, which is like next 3000 years. And actually that is a very good evidence to show why some of the places on the west coast of India, now they are inland. A place called Dholavira, I don't know if you have heard that. I mean, Graham Hancock has been to that place too, by the way. A place called Dholavira, another place is called Lothal, and they were ports for the next 3000 years. So somebody, archaeologists studying these places independently, Dholavira and Lothal, trying to say when they were ports, and their outcome says, somewhere between 4000 and 2000 BCE. And we have the answer. The Dwarka evidence has the answer to that. But Darren, to your point of Dogger Bank, something else, the formation of a Black Sea. Okay, now it is a subject that hundreds of individuals are studying, but the specific study I want to refer is by Columbia geologists, two of them, Ryan and Pittman. Yeah, so the whole Black Sea there. So yeah, keep it that way. Okay, so then I'll show you what happened and how Ryan and Pittman explain it. So imagine now, this was a global event. This 5525 BC was a global event. So I mentioned Krishna's Dwarka on the west coast of India. Now we are at the intersection of Europe and Asia, Turkey.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
So now imagine when the sea levels went up from the Atlantic, the water entered the Mediterranean Sea. From Mediterranean to Aegean Sea near Greece, from Aegean to Sea of Marmara, very close to that, and from Sea of Marmara with the high increased pressure, the high pressure broke through the Bosphorus channel, which is right at Istanbul, and started pouring the salt water on the other side into a small lake. At that time, the Black Sea was not there. It was a small lake, sweetwater lake, and instantaneously, so to say, I mean, that instantaneous might have taken 100 years. I don't know what that time is, but instantaneously, so to say, Black Sea was formed as a saltwater sea. And this is a work of Ryan and Pittman, 1998 book, Columbia University. So that was one. And Graham, you would love the story, how I came to know of that evidence. Okay. What happened was, I was looking for evidence, and some prisoner from a Tennessee prison wrote to me, saying, he was like blabbering, actually. I couldn't understand what he was saying. He's like writing to me, but as if like he's talking to himself. And he said, everyone is talking of this cataclysmic event, cataclysmic event of 6th millennium BCE. And now this guy, he's referring to me, but he's writing to me. He's saying, now this guy is also talking about 50 BCE. And I wrote back to him, I'm saying, who else is talking besides me? Because I did not know in 2015 anyone else talking of this cataclysmic thing. And then he told me about Ryan and Pittman. So that's one. If you go to Australia, like Great Barrier Reef, you will suddenly see a sudden sea level rise in Great Barrier Reef to the same time, 7,500. And since then, practically flat.
Interesting.
If you go to Caribbean, that is actually the research of Paul Blanchard from University of Alberta. He found 7 different locations, and in all 7 different locations in Caribbean, sudden sea level rise 5600 BCE plus minus 100 years. I mean, I can go on, but there are 30 more points like that.
And you're thinking that it was from an Antarctica melt? It wasn't from, like, what's the physical cause?
Okay, the physical cause, I don't know. And this is not my hypothesis. This is a hypothesis of likes of Paul Blanchard and many other geologists. Because the reason I think they are thinking this is by 7,500 years, which is what, 6 millennium, all the ice from North America is gone. All the ice from Europe is gone. And, so therefore they are thinking it's more because of the Antarctica. Right. And there is enough evidence in support of that, which is to say, you still see the effect as up north as like Black Sea, for example, Dogger Bank. You see this on the west coast of, Netherlands, you see it on the west coast of France. Of course, you see it in the West Indies. By the way, you see this on the east coast of Maine, the state of Maine,
Yeah, yeah.
Not far from Quebec. But the prominent effect is in the south. Like you see this in South Africa, you see this in Argentina, you see this in Australia. On the east coast of India too. Let me tell you this one. This is so fascinating. So while this is happening on the west coast, the east coast of India, where now in 2020, Professor Ramaswamy, he found a very sophisticated evidence of navigation. Now, this is important for antiquity of human civilization, going back to 20,000 years. Okay.
Sea navigation or
sea navigation, ocean navigation. Yeah. So the port structures that he found are right now inside the ocean 30 kilometers. Okay.
Wow.
And so last 20,000 years, sea level is rising. So when, say about 16,000 BC, so like 18,000 years ago or so somewhere, when the sea level really significantly rose, the first port was gone. And so they built a port inward. So like a port 2. Then that was gone about like 10,000 years ago. And then the port 3 that they built was destroyed in 5525 BCE. There is evidence of that. But this was such a massive event. Not only it destroyed the port, but there was an ingression of a seawater 15 kilometers inside on the east coast of India. And that is the evidence. Very similar to what happened on the west coast.
Does that point to an impact then that it washed in that far?
Say it again, Darren.
Like the 15 kilometers, is that like how far it washed in and receded back?
Yes, correct. So right now there is a place called Pumpuhar, which is the port right now, okay, or the oceanfront city. From there, inside 10 to 15 kilometers is a place called Mayuram. So, for example, if you pull the map again and just go to the southern part of India, I can even show you the place. Okay, yeah, very good. That's there. So that sharp corner, yeah, where your cursor is right now, just expand that area. Okay, yeah, and bring it down. Go up slowly, just slowly, you know.
Okay. Oops.
Come on, Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up like that.
Happen.
Up like that. Yeah.
Well, I'm not seeing it yet. Maybe it's happening on your side.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so go for Stop there. Okay, now expand if you can.
Okay.
Very nice. Further expansion, and see if you may able to read it. A place called Pumpuhar, POOMPBO.
Yeah, right here. Right here.
Where?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Now, if you go from that place straight to the westward on the land, you will place called like a Mailadithurai. You know, like imagine going 15 kilometers. Yeah, Mayuram or Mailadithurai. There you go.
There. Yeah.
So now imagine this, just like on the west coast of India, Dholavira and Lothal, which are now inland, landlocked, they were ports for about 3,000 years, from 5,000 BC to 2,000 BC. Exactly the same story for this Mailadithurai or Mayuram, which is right now inside landlocked place. This was a port, a very functional port, and that's what the evidence is of a functional port for about 2,000 to 2,500 years.
Wow.
From 5,000 to what? 3,000 or 2,500 BC.
Okay, before we move on to the Rama and the Younger Dryas and Atlantis and stuff, which is interesting, I do have a question from the chats here. Vera's asking about she's asking about the other texts like Gilgamesh, but I want to get into her other part of the question, which is, does genetic engineering happen in the Mahabharat? So I know you mentioned that it happened physically, like it actually is a phenomena that happened in humanity, but was that also referenced in the text, or did they use the 85% of males dying in the war? Is that symbolism for that? No.
Actually, there are these two different events, and maybe what the the viewer is asking is possibly was there a test tube baby? Was there a IVF? I don't know if that's
okay.
what.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Genetic engineering.
Actually,
Not
yeah,
okay.
the Mahabharata is filled with it. I'll just give you a few illustrative examples. For example, the very war is between the two factions of the same family. So the whole family is called actually Kurus, like the Normans or whatever we may want to call it, or the Scots, something like that. They are Kurus, a particular dynasty. And but just for the distinction, because there was a war within the family, the one side is called Kauravas, the sons of a Kurus. The others are also Kuru dynasty, but they are called Pandavas, like because the sons of a king Pandu. Okay, that's why they are called Pandavas. Now their births are mysterious enough. So the 5 Pandavas, the Mahabharata text tells us, and we have to understand this. Basically, whatever you see, the definition of epics in the Indian, they are called itihasa. Itihasa in Sanskrit means this is how it happened. But if I may say one line in Sanskrit, if that's okay, and I'll translate it. It says, how is it written? It says, it also explains why it is written, but let's not go today into why it was written, but how it is written. It says, Purva Vrittam Kathayuktam Itihasam Prachakshate. This thing is called Itihasa. This is how it happened, literally, where you take a historical event, an actual historical event, Purva Vrittam, something that happened in the past. But you narrate it. It is composed in a poetry form, in a katha, in an interesting way, in a way that is entertaining, but in a way that is also educational, in a way that is informational, in a way that engages your interest. Like say a World War II movie. So there may be embellishments, not maybe, there are embellishments. Because of that, sometimes the descriptions are such that we don't know exactly what they meant by that in a way of technology. But I'll tell you the Mahabharata narration. The mother of the 5 Pandus or 5 Pandavas, her name is Kunti, and she has been given a blessing by one great sage that she can invoke a certain deity, and using that mantra, she can use that mantra and she can get a baby. Okay, so that's how the description comes. So so in fact, when she's not even married, what she does, the Kunti, she says, let me see if this thing works.
It's like immaculate conception.
Immaculate conception, right? So she tries one to sun. So there are like these 5 deities associated with it, like a sun, like as in a sun, Surya, or Indra, another god from Indian system. But she calls on Surya, and we have to take the description. So the sun comes, the sun as in sun, sun comes. Now whatever that means. And she's frightened. She said, oh, I just wanted to try this. I just wanted to test it if this happens. Now he says, you can relate to that. He says, now, sorry, you invited me. Now we have to do it, so to say. So now she has no option. So she ended up conceiving a son. Now the pregnancy goes through 9 months. So that is a normal one, but the conception is not given. So what you said, immaculate conception, is a good one to describe it. And that particular son that is born to her is the 6th Pandava, who fights from the other side, by the way. And that's a long story. But my point is, similarly, she tries 2 more times, other 2 deities. She gives birth to 2 other sons. That's the Bhima and Arjuna, again, big characters. Then she has her husband has another wife, Madri. So she gives the remaining 2 mantras to her and says, you practice those. And then she gives birth to 2 boys. My point is, that's that. Let's take another story to answer the viewer's question. The 100 Kauravas on the other side, these are 100 brothers born to this blind king that I referred to, just now. The way the story goes, his wife, Gandhari, she was from Afghanistan, the Kandahar. Kandahar is originally Gandhar, by the way, Kandahar is Gandhar, became Kandahar. So she's from that area, and she's pregnant, but for some reason she's not giving birth to the child. So this Vyasa, he's a all performance. The person, he's a great composer. He's also a great astronomer, great writer, great poet, but also must be a great medical professional man, because he helps her. He takes the what you call the garbha, that is the Sanskrit word, like the fetus, and he divides that fetus, that's what Mahabharat says, into 100 different pieces and grows them in 100 different vessels. And
Wow.
out of that, 100 sons are born. That is the story.
Wow. There you go. Very, very genetic engineering ish.
Correct. Correct.
Well, I mean, I'd like to sort of move on to because this is so fascinating. But the Rama, because I think you talk about it being like another 7,000 years later was the
Correct.
Rama, and
Yeah.
That seems to coincide with the Younger Dryas and like all the Plato's stuff on Atlantis, right? So it seems like there's another twist or another take on that ancient civilization that's pre-Younger Dryas that is from India.
That is correct. In fact, the time-wise, the Younger Dryas, including Plato's Atlantis, is nicely sandwiched between Ramayana and Mahabharat.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So think of this. Ramayana is Mahabharat we just discussed, which is 7,500 years ago.
Yeah.
Plato's Atlantis. Plato said, or he writes based on based on his narrations with whoever he heard from, that Atlantis went underwater 9,000 years before him. So that's 9,500 BCE, which is 11,500 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
So
Right.
7,500 years ago is Mahabharat. 11,500 years ago is the Plato's Atlantis, and 14,000 years ago, 12,209 BC is Ramayana. Okay, and I'll tell you, all these three events are associated also with a cataclysmic sea level rise.
Right.
And that is captured by Paul Blanchard's one paper, 1995. In fact, I'll send you that paper afterwards.
Okay.
After
Yeah,
our,
for sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so there was a sudden sea level rise 14,200 years ago, just after Ramayana. There was a sudden sea level rise. The first one I just mentioned, it's called CRE1, Catastrophic Rise Event 1. That's 14,200 years ago. The second one is 11,500 years ago. That's Plato's Atlantis. Okay, that is CRE2, Catastrophic Rise Event 2. And the third one in the Paul Blanchard and James Shaw paper, 1995 paper, is that Krishna's Dwarka, 5,600 BCE plus minus 100 years, CRE3.
So the first two of those would be meltwater pulse 1A and 1B. Is that correct?
Close to it. The meltwater pulse B or A sometime, they give a slightly different timing. Like you will see 8,200 BCE, for example, meltwater pulse, and not 11,500 or not 9,500. So there is a delta of about 1,000 year difference. Difference between Paul Blanchard's paper and what they would consider meltwater. I can even explain why that happens. What happens is when you are collecting the data, the nature of the data is such, or it may vary. Sometime, it's just a good example would be this, and you see if that helps. Suppose there is going to rain. Okay, before it rains, there are going to be clouds, and the humidity in the air will be different, and so on. So suppose we are measuring the humidity in the air or moisture, stuff like that, or the temperature, fall in temperature. That is a one type of data. Then actually when the rain is falling, somebody will actually collect the water. That itself is another type of data. And then because of a rain, after the fact, there are floods, and that will create some other geological data. And the point is, depending on which data you are collecting, whether you are collecting the data before the event, just like a clouds forming and moisture, or you are collecting the data when exactly the event is happening, the rain itself, or you are collecting the data when it is causing a flood damage, and that flood, depending on that, your timing may be slightly different. Okay, it's something like that happens here also in the geological data.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Darren, do you have any questions about going back that far?
Well, I think you just answered my follow-up question. Now that I really think about it, I think you kind of answered it in that thing. So, and now I'm kind of lining up that 5 or 6,000 years ago with I've heard a lot of people talk about an impact sort of in between India and in between Africa and Australia and India and there that caused those drumlins on the northwest coast of Africa, on the west coast of Africa. Is that
okay? No, that's a good question. That is the Merkel crater. You would have heard that. You know, the supposedly hypothesized by Russian scientists, Merkel crater. You know, that is very close to Madagascar. You know, the east coast of Africa. But yeah, if you pull the map, like, you know, just east coast of the island of Madagascar, and then somewhere there. Here is let's see if we can pull it out. Yeah, so just somewhere slightly east of Madagascar and north of Madagascar. You know, that's where. Now I don't know the exact location. Or below that, yeah, below that, those are Seychelles Islands. Below that somewhere, there is this hypothesized what do you call a
Impact
asteroid?
site?
Yeah.
Impact
Right?
site? Impact site?
Impact site. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I will tell you something. What I have found, you know, from this, the timing of it is, by the way, is off from all that we discussed today. In fact, the timing proposed by the Russian scientist is about 3000 BC. So like a 5,000 years ago. So that's point number one. And they propose that it must have formed many waves and they could be seen. But I will give you, this is not to say I have anything to say about the Merkel crater. Okay. I mean, that's for experts to tell us about it. But I will give you a contrary evidence to that, which is to say, the entire ocean front of India, like the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean, which is to say Australia, but also places like Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, all of those areas, including India, have seen nothing of that sort at 3000 BC. In fact, the evidence is exactly opposite. I'll quote one paper from 2019. This was studied on the western tip of Indonesia, a place called Sumatra and Aceh Banda. Again, Darren, if you can pull the map of Indonesia, just the western side of it, I can show you exact location. So there, yeah. So see where that Sumatra island is ending. Go. Okay, it's blocking. Yeah, go to the left. Go to west. Yeah, and see that last island of Indonesia. Like you see Malaysia.
Yeah.
Malaysia written. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to the tip towards India. You know, towards all the way to the India.
Yeah.
Yeah. That ultimate tip of Sumatra Island to the top.
Okay.
The north portion. Yeah, we are very close to it. Yeah, and then the Indian area begins. Yeah, there where your cursor is right now.
Okay.
That is a place called Aceh Banda. And there they did a beautiful study. What happened is they have the records for ocean dumping organic or sand matter into a cave into the mountains for the last 7,500 years.
Wow, that's interesting.
In fact, Graham, the evidence begins with Krishna's Dwarka. I mean, that time, 5525 BCE. Right.
Yeah.
And since then, you have evidence of every single sea level rise, every single tsunami, all the way to 2004 in that cave. What is interesting is between 3,500 BCE to 1,500 BCE, which is where the Merkel crater comes into the picture. there is actually evidence from this paper, but also anywhere in that region of no sea level rise or no tsunami whatsoever during that time.
Interesting. Okay, so that maybe we can go a little bit farther up then to, if Darren, if that's okay with you, just
that works.
to maybe some more correlations between Atlantis and after. So it would be after the, or during as well, during the Mahayana. Like what it seems to me like if your dating is correct, then that kind of fits with an ancient advanced civilization that is pre-Younger Dryas.
Oh, definitely. So Ramayana, I would say simply Ramayana is a pre-Younger Dryas civilization.
Okay.
And so somebody wanting to know what kind of civilizations we as a humanity had, the descriptions of Ramayana is worth reading. As you said, one of your friend is reading Ramayana and he's already on the book number 6, right?
Yeah.
You can ask him to go back to book number 1 and 2 and read the descriptions of Ayodhya, the capital of Ram, or you can ask him to go to book number 4, and read the descriptions of Kishkinda, another city, and of course number 5, and read a beautiful descriptions of Ravana's Lanka, the island city. Okay, so those are wonderful descriptions, but this is not the end. Let me give you one very interesting another historical epoch that takes us back to 34,500 BCE, 36,000 years.
Okay.
Now, if you take away the Mahabharat and Ramayana, then India does not have any other historical text per se. It has a lot of text, but not a text meant exclusively as a history. These are the two epics. But there are these other, the Vedas and the associated text, right? So one text, it refers to one king of the same dynasty as Ram, but long before Ram. Okay, Ikshwaku, the dynasty name is Ikshwaku, the solar dynasty for simplicity. And what that king is describing, or whoever is narrating that incident is describing, he's saying three things. Number one thing he says is that the bright pole star is moving, is shifting from its position. So that's observation number one. The second observation, he says, the spring equinox, okay, at that time is occurring on a specific star Regulus. Okay, so spring equinox is happening on star Regulus, which means the sun's position coinciding with the star Regulus. In Indian astronomy, it's called Magha, Magha. And there is a third one, which is again most fascinating. This is from the ground. He says the earth is sinking and oceans are drying up. Okay, earth is sinking and oceans are drying up. Now, if we think of, I'll start with the spring equinox in Regulus. So if we start today, says when was the last time spring equinox was on Regulus? Okay, if we go back, the answer is 10,000 years ago.
Okay.
So could this event be from 10,000 years ago? Well, it could be, except there are two problems with it, or at least one big problem. That time, the ocean levels were not going down. The oceans were not drying up. Rather, they were coming up, because oceans are coming up for last 20,000 years. Okay. So what do we do? What Darren suggested is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that 10,000 years ago, 8,000 BC, and go through a complete cycle of this precession of the Earth's axis to 26,000 years plus, which takes us to 34,500. And bingo. Now you have all the three descriptions matching. I can send you the chart afterwards, but if you have talked to Randall, you have already seen this. The ocean levels were going down since 120,000 years ago, all the way to 20,000 years ago. And only in the last 20,000 years ago, the water is coming up. I mean, they had ups and downs like a stock market in between, but the net effect was they were going down for the last 100,000 years before the recent 20,000 years.
Yeah.
So now if I go back to 34,500 years, I can explain why a bright pole star was moving from its position. That is the Vega. Vega was a pole star in about 38,000 BC. And by 34,000, it has moved from its polar position now away from pole position. The spring equinox is in Regulus at 34,500 BCE. The earth was sinking and oceans were drying up. Okay, ocean levels were going down. And what is meant by earth is sinking?
Yeah,
we don't
that's
know
right.
exactly.
It's almost a contradiction in a way.
Well, so that's right. So my and one of my co-researcher, Rupa Bhatti, our interpretation, you may say, is that, at least I'll tell you my interpretation. So when the oceans are going down, one thing is happening is we may also see the landslides, for example, visible landslides, so to say. They are happening even otherwise, but now they are visible, Another thing is, because ocean levels are going down, a land is becoming available at a lower altitudes. And now so it's like earth is sinking in the sense, hey, we are going down the earth, so to say.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
So this is my interpretation for what it is worth.
Is there any evidence in that about the Cyclopean architecture? Like, is there anything to tie the worldwide civilization of megalithic builders back that far in that text?
Well,
or any evidence on how they cut the stones, or how the ancient Indian temples were cut out of the rock? I mean, it's unbelievable, some of those.
True. Yeah, I was there exactly 2 years ago, and we spent 3 days. It's not far from here. Actually, I'm going to go there in like 10 days again.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Cool. Yeah, the Kailasha, the Ellora,
yeah.
I'm going there. But those, at least the way the dating is done right now, those are considered only 2,000 years old. Okay, so not going back to 7,000 or 14,000 or 34,000. But there are other things. I don't want to digress on this. But for example, there is the evidence of dental surgery and dental fillings done in India 7,000 BC. Okay, but that's still not going to take you to 14,000 and 34,000, and not the megaliths that you see beautiful ones in Egypt or Peru and places like that. I would say, Graham, one thing, and this is again my speculation, one challenge with a living civilization such as Indian civilization is this. Like Varanasi or the Kashi is a place, to behold for this reason. I mean, the civilization there, the buildings are coming layer after layer over each other. They are destroying the old building and building new one. Think of it this way. Where our knowledge is as good as it can be with respect to the megaliths or even a underground archaeology, whether it's even a river, I would say our knowledge is best for those civilizations which no longer exist. Because nobody is there, we can excavate, we can do better study. Now, granted, there are new technologies coming up and they will help us. So what I find is India has these all text. They have these descriptions of great city with rectangular roads and 90-degree angles to each other, like what we see in the Indus Valley civilization, the ancient descriptions like Rama's Ayodhya or Ravana's Lanka. But as a archaeology, physical evidence, it's not there. But one of the reasons could be those cities still exist. I mean, Ravana's Lanka does not exist, but Ayodhya still exists. Varanasi still exists, and Indraprastha, which was the capital of the Mahabharata kings, is New Delhi, or the old Delhi, I should say. It exists.
So those cities are so old; they go way back. They've been built on for year after year. What about the Barabar Caves? Have you ever heard of that Barabar Caves?
Where are they, by the way?
Is that what it is? They're in the Barabar Caves. Is that?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah,
are they in India?
I thought they were. I thought they were, but it's just because that might be something that really is. Yeah, they're in Bihar, India.
Okay. I have not been to those. There are other caves I have been to called Bhim Betaka. Bhimbetka in the central India called Madhya Pradesh. I was there 5 years ago, pre-COVID. And there they talk of certain evidence, human presence going back to million years. Like actually,
Wow.
I saw the marks, and they talk of million years, but I'm not a geologist or anthropologist to say how do they know from the marks that those are million years ago. I honestly don't know that. They have done some pigment analysis of the paintings, just like Altamira paintings at the border of France and Spain.
Yeah.
They have done similar analysis. Again, I'm trying to look for the report. Nobody is giving it to me. I have a tough time finding it. But they are based on that. They're talking of some of the paintings 10,000 years old or 40,000 years old. But I think it would be wonderful if we can have our hands on that pigment analysis.
What are you working on? What are you working on next? As far as like all this research in ancient India goes.
Okay. So what I'm working on beyond 34,500, and there are enough of the hydrology references, river references, where Yamuna, the river that flows through New Delhi, how it stopped feeding its water to the ancient Saraswati, which no longer exists. So we have evidence of that. But what we don't have right now is a evidence that we can correlate with the text and with physical events like Ramayana or Mahabharat. So I'm working on that, because if you go back 75,000 years, and maybe that's a good point to stop. So that's what I'm working on, sort of fill in the blanks from now. Now we have some blanks filled in, like Mahabharat, younger Dryas, Ramayana, then the 34,500 BC event I told you, and there are a few others. But going back to 75,000 years, and there is a specific reason for that. That is the Toba explosion.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So what happened? The Toba explosion basically destroyed the current India and the broader India. What is interesting is when people actually do the archaeological digs, and when they find that ash layer, which matches with 72,000 BC, what they have found is there are stone tools below that ash layer, and there are stone tools after that ash layer. Okay, so there were people before, there were people after. That stone tool culture matches with the descriptions in Rigveda, which is the oldest text of Indian civilization. So I have to connect those dots, and I'm doing that with my co-researcher. So that's what I'm working on.
That's fantastic. That's excellent.
So before we let you go, I do got to throw a curveball at you. So the fact that we've been able to observe these same sort of constellations and stars for so long, because like you had asked that question at the beginning of the show. I'm not sure if we answered or not, but I'm like you. I tend to take all that stuff sort of more literally than as myth. And so you look at all that stuff, isn't it hard to, and we do have the wobble back and forth from Vega to Polaris and that sort of thing, but isn't it hard to imagine that it's all flying through space at 90,000 miles an hour and still maintaining this structure and this balance? Like, is it everything's going in the exact same direction at the exact same speed so that these zodiacs can stay in place over tens of thousands of years? Yeah. And now the reason I'm not a flat earther, but the reason I bring it up is because if I fall more and more into bed with this Tychos model, which is the old Tychos Brahe model from way back in the day that Simon Shack is kind of reinvigorating now. So I'm just, before we let you go, I wouldn't mind getting your take on that, because you're kind of looking at this, and it's just, the more I look at this stuff, the weirder it seems that we can be going at 90 times the speed of sound and all this stuff still lining up. Yeah.
Well, you ask a brilliant question or a comment, I would say. Let me end on that one. And this is, if our viewers understand it, they should get goosebumps. Okay, what you just asked. For example, I'm going to rephrase the question in a slightly different way for astronomy. Because skeptics do ask this question. They say, well, so you are using modern astronomy, NASA data, JPL data, whatever, Indian astronomy, old data, the astronomy simulations, mathematical calculations. Based on that, we are going back 7,500 years ago, or 14,000 years ago, younger Dryas, 11,000 years ago, or this other thing I told you, 34,000 years ago. How can we trust it? The masses or their velocities, because that's all matters, like the planetary positions and so on, the sun's speed, or sun into the solar system, or the Milky Way. Here is very interesting thing I want to tell, and we are lucky there, just a coincidence. See, the astronomy evidence that you see, I'll limit to Mahabharat and Ramayana. The astronomy evidence, Mahabharat has 300 of them, descriptions. Ramayana has 600 of them. And they are a combination of certain phenomenon due to the precession, and the others are due to the planetary motions. So the planetary motions is a near Earth phenomenon, like everything happening just within the solar system. And the precession is beyond the solar system, okay? Because it's like really, the Earth's, where it is pointing to. And there is one more thing. The planetary speeds are their own, into their own worlds. They are affected by each other a little bit, but they are their own worlds, but has nothing to do with the precession. So it's like a two different astronomy phenomenon we are bringing together into the available evidence we have in Mahabharat and Ramayana. And now the punchline. So what happens is, we use modern astronomy to predict the timing of Mahabharat or Ramayana, but there is something really fascinating happening here. If we want to test the reliability of modern astronomy to study antiquity, Mahabharat, the evidence, and Ramayana evidence provide as a golden calibration standards, because they have the evidence which comes from two independent sources, both astronomy, but one from the precession, another from the planetary. So long-term phenomenon and a short-term phenomenon. And guess what? So we use that to predict them, but the evidence is so powerful there that it gives us a confidence about the modern astronomy that yes, we can use it to go back to study antiquity if such a evidence exists.
And that's based on, it's pretty much the mainstream astronomical observations.
Yeah, because see, the way the astronomy observations are there in the Mahabharat and Ramayana, they are both a combination of a short-term observation. So it's like saying, see, we are like saying, okay, that day was Sunday.
So, it matches like our current sort of view of like the sun with the planets moving around the sun and the moon around Earth, and
yeah, so that's how the evidence comes. But I'm saying that matches with the descriptions of these epochs. So astronomy descriptions match, but it doesn't stop there, because we also have evidence from the terra, from the ground, that also matches with the exactly same years.
Okay.
So our confidence is very high. That's what I will say as we explore.
Excellent. Well, thanks.
Yeah, this has been
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been fun. Yeah, we'd like to do it again sometime if we can with you.
Definitely.
Yeah, maybe before we go to the Azores or something with Randall. That's in November.
Right. And what we may do is like what I did with some of the podcasters here in India is I will send you the data files before in advance. That's something Darren can actually pull, that particular thing.
Yeah, that'd be
like
great.
Like these 3 catastrophic rise event, seeing is believing, the picture is worth 1,000 words. Like whoever would have seen it, they say, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Yeah.
So let's do that. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Nilesh. This has been great. Where can our listeners track you down if they want to follow you on social media or your web pages? Where can any books, anything like that?
And when's your next book coming out? Yeah.
Okay, so for tracking me down, I would say nileshoak.com. That's the best place to do. And my next book, in fact, Graham, my book number 4 came out on 8th December.
Oh, okay.
And now it is in my mother tongue, which is Marathi. Like English is my third language, so Marathi. It will be translated in Hindi, and also in English. So that may happen in the near future. Another book that is slated for June. This is another subject. I'll just mention it. You might have seen my video. Sugriva's Atlas. This is related to Ramayana, where this Vanara king describes the geography of the earth all the way from South America to Europe and from Siberia to Antarctica. So a book coming on that, so
that's fast. That's a great one. Cause that kind of also lends that corroboration to the seafaring ancient civilization, that they knew the whole globe back then.
Yeah. Yes.
Excellent. All right. We'll put links. Yeah. We'll put links in the show notes to all that. And then maybe when that book comes out, we'll have you back on.
All right. Very good. Okay. You have a great night.
Okay. Take care.
Ciao. And that was a chat with Nilesh Oak. What'd you think?
Wow. I mean, I was going to ask him about Dave Matheson because Dave talks about Arjuna and the Mahabharat all the time, right? With his stars of, I mean, he's got whole probably books or chapters of books on those two epochs and his star systems, right?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that my question got answered, but
no, I don't think he caught your I don't think he knew what you're talking about the new Tychos model.
No, I would agree with that.
I think if you would have said it was like, Earth and Mars in a binary system, he would have been like a little shocked probably. I think that's like you said, is a curveball.
That's a curveball. It's good to throw in at the end so you don't spend the whole time, going through it. But
what's the other type of pitch? Not the curveball, but the other one that messes people up.
Change up?
Yeah, maybe it's a change up.
Big thanks to Nilesh for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys listening. First day with the new tongue. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Even bigger thanks. It's been a long year. 2025 looking good. Even bigger thanks if you're one of our supporters, our nobles. Like we say, we're trying to really pull up this year and make this the full-time gig and the only one we got to worry about. So head over to gramerica.ca/support today. Sign up for monthly or make a one-time donation if you're getting a little value from the podcast here. Check out gramericacbd.com for all your THC and CBD gummy, CBD mostly gummy and drop needs. Elixirs, what do they call them? Look, there's a name for it. It escapes.
Tincture. I like elixir though. Potions, elixir. Yeah. I mean, we could have named them potions or elixirs. More like
legal
alchemy. What?
It'd be legal trouble there. So, americacbd.com for that. Adultbrain.ca for all the audiobooks and everything else. Contact at the cabin for that Atlantis trip we were talking about, as well as all the others. And Gramerica Outlawed for the other podcasts. I'll leave it at that. We love you guys. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next week. Next year.
Policy papers behind enemy lines, tension bills, a cell phone rings, a bomb drops in a city street sea of iPod noise. Don't get comfortable, free thinkers. Don't get comfortable, free thinkers. If the digital revolution still got a pulse, we need to revive it and make it a reality. I've hacked into a politician's password and transferred money into several overseas accounts. And as we speak, a supercomputer project is in the works. And if it works, we'll use it to point and click our way to some sort of truth. Either you're in or out, are you game, or is the game over? This must be a glitch in the Matrix. This must be a glitch in the Matrix. A revolutionary dream. It's me versus the machine. Go! Watch out out for them laser beams. Climb to the top of the pyramid scheme. Capitol Hill's getting steeper and steeper. Meanwhile, the deck gets deeper and deeper. Don't get comfortable, free thinkers. Cause it's gonna take more than hand and eye coordination on your PlayStation. It's gonna take mind elevation. There must be a glitch in the matrix. There must be a glitch in the matrix. A revolutionary dream. It's me versus the machines. Go! Breaking from my routine, I dive into my computer screen. Swimming in a sea of zeros and ones. Trying to put together 2 and 2, but I keep getting blind. Trying to weed through all the lines. From the bad guys in the suits and the neckties. Help me find the oracle. She has the answers. There must be a glitch in the matrix. There must be a glitch in the matrix. A revolutionary dream. Rage against the machine. Don't get comfortable, free thinkers. Rage against